Hey guys, and welcome back to the Path to Exile Podcast, episode 56, partner with Mobalytics. I am Kyle Torak, and joining me per usual is Miso Shiro and Dead Rabbit. And if you're new here, we have our audio-only format on Apple Music and Spotify. So if you prefer to listen instead of watch, please check us out over there. And if you do, please give us a rating. It'll help us out a lot. This week, we have special guest, longtime watcher, and I guess, we've collaborated at this point on little build ideas over the last few weeks. Mr. FunkehChicken, how are you doing, brother?
Been a very interesting and crazy 2 weeks, and a big shout out in particular to you three and the whole THC community. Just very humbling. Honestly, been a very humbling 2 weeks. So been loving it. Yeah, been absolutely fantastic.
Before we dive into all of the THC and just like the last few weeks start up, the thing about you that I like, Funky, is I think you're the first viewer to build creator to guest viewer we have. You started as a viewer. You like over the last year, you started making builds, correct? And now you've like a little bit longer.
Slight rearrangement. So build creator, completely isolated, kind of writing the post-COVID.
Sorry, when I say build creator, I mean like YouTube content. When I say that, you haven't been making content that long, right? It's a little over a year.
Yeah, since the start of, funnily enough, since the start of 0.1. Then kind of realized and more so remembered that gaming's a lot more fun when you do it with other people. So
yes,
got involved. I think spent a lot of time in your respective Discords and Twitch chats. Got to know you all, and then the streaming jump in the last 2 weeks just gave it a go, and so it's been an interesting journey. Been around the scene, but kind of really only really got into it the last probably 05 really was really the big step.
I think for 04 I was seeing you a lot. Did you play PoE 1 at all?
No. Oh, well, I did back in the day. I think I can't remember the patch numbers and all that, but it was a long time ago, like 10 years ago. Played it for, I think it was about 1 or 2 leagues. Did a few of I remember it was back in the day when they had all of those crazy like 2-hour events constantly running and those kind of things going on. But ultimately gravitated towards other games. I was a big Diablo player as well. Not as much Diablo 2 maybe as Mr. Rabbit, but played Diablo 3 quite a lot and Diablo 4 during launch, and then a lot of other games I'm old. I've been around gaming a long time, so the list is longer than I care to remember.
Oh yeah. What is it about PoE 2 build making that really just makes you enjoy this game more than the other of the titles like it?
Well, we all know what Diablo 4 is.
I actually don't.
It was
You're lucky.
Respect to you. No, look, to be fair, Diablo 4 was a lot of fun during the launch. I think any game ultimately during the early days is a lot of fun simply because of the discovery aspect. And that's what I typically love about games and why I gravitate to games like PoE 2 with its constant cycles and refreshes, constant changes, being quite dynamic. Diablo 4 was a lot of fun during the start, but it is ultimately builds on rails. They will set up the uniques. There's not too much flexibility in what you can do. PoE 2, the best analogy I could give is it kind of feels like Lego maybe, where they give you the blocks. There's certain patterns and techniques you can do that are known, and then ultimately you can just piece them together any way you want. And it's ever changing, growing, being added to, and engineer.
I believe it's an engineer to refer to a game as Legos,
Yeah,
Legos.
it's I've always loved problem solving. I've always loved puzzles, and nothing really tickles that as much as PoE 2 does. And then it has obviously those massive kind of, I've also gone through big gambling phases. Was a big poker player back in the day during the kind of boom. And so it's like the best of both worlds. It's got its problem solving puzzle pieces as well as the gamba, and yeah, just addicting.
Well, before we dive fully into the episode, let's catch up with the boys. Rabbit, you got your cool little soccer shirt on. How you doing, bro? Heard you died this last week.
Okay.
That was a lot to throw. That was a lot to throw at you at once, right? Soccer shirt plus you died.
2 corrections. It's football, and I didn't die. I just took a break. No, I'm taking my 2 weeks vacation right now. Next week we're going to Poland. This week I just took a little bit of a break, and and after vacation it's directly into Gamescom, and then hopefully we know more about 0.55, and then after Gamescom it's gonna be right back into PV2 again. Also, it's football, by the way. I'm sure what.
What's that?
I was trying to figure out the funniest combination to say that, and soccer shirt just seemed like the most insulting to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Rage bait, not insulting. I didn't want to insult you. Miso, you look tired, man. How much sleep did you get?
2.5 hours.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So Mr. FunkehChicken is up all night too, so we got some soldiers with us today.
I was sipping a coffee at 11 p.m. just to make sure I had the energy for the podcast.
Oh,
Sheesh.
Also, we don't have this too often on the podcast, but we do have the quadruple time zone again, which is always an achievement in the podcast, because we're all in different time zones now. That's always a good.
Well, Miso's in a kind of the same time zone as me, but he functions in a different time zone based off his sleep schedule.
He's just an actual vampire for some reason.
How you doing, Miso?
Hey, I'm a bit of a night owl as well, so I can respect that.
Yep. I mean, outside of the 2.5 hours sleep, which, at this point is pretty much on the regular for our podcast days, but good. Had some crazy luck last night for THC, which and I'm playing that solo self-found, so had some really insane just like luck with like rolls for my equipment. Finally got the headhunter out of that ritual, so we're kind of cooking. We're kind of cooking right now. Yeah.
Like, headhunter is kind of the dream, right? Like HCSSF, I would honestly say that's probably if you can choose one item to get early on a character on hardcore SSF, I know a lot of people would now say
Shroudwalker. Shroudwalker is so scary, dude.
Everybody's out here talking about Shroudwalker. Everybody was like, "You sure you're gonna be good with that? You sure you're not gonna die?" And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just gonna do it.
Aren't you kind of building for that anyway? And isn't the Headhunter just giving you massive power then? I know, like Mageblood, yes, but I'd probably you're probably right.
If it was hardcore SSF, I would pick the Mageblood simply because you can either solve your resistances instantly, or you can just stack an absurd amount of armor.
Yeah, if you're playing armor
or whatever defensive layer you want. So
true.
But Headhunter
I was thinking of the rerolling for the divines, but honestly, especially a solo self-found, there's probably not a better use for the divines that you get than rolling a Mageblood. So exactly. It does make sense. Okay, I'm taking it back. Miso wasn't lucky. Miso wasn't lucky.
I was very unlucky getting a Headhunter. That's so unlucky, dude. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just always so unlucky. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got that during my first Rite of the Nameless, the tutorial Rite of the Nameless.
I've been spamming. I ain't getting anything. I think this is my actually first league where I haven't gotten a Headhunter. I've always either chanced one or just seen one as a drop, and I've not seen a Headhunter this time around. I've seen the one Mageblood, which is cool. I'm not complaining. And Headhunter's supposed to be rare. It's just I want a Headhunter. And I'd be down to die with it in hardcore. Like if I was like at the point where I'm done with my character, fuck it, put a Headhunter on and just send it until it rips. Why not? That sounds fun. Yeah, your Kono's been doing well. The hardcore league has just been an absolute blast. It's been it's completely changed how I want to play the game. There are some things that I am starting to realize that I will ultimately always prefer about softcore. And I want to talk to you guys about this. To me, one thing I've noticed about the pseudo solo self-found aspect of it is I feel like I'm almost always constantly having to farm everything. I have to do temple. I have to do expedition. I have to do ritual. I have to do breach. I have to. Like you have to. And Some days I just want to sit there and spam breach for 10 hours, and it feels like I'm stabbing myself in the back by doing that because I need all this other stuff soon. So that's like the one thing where it's just like, damn, I really just want to sit here and farm Rite of the Nameless for 10 hours, but I functionally can't do it yet. It's not necessarily a bad thing doing all the content, but that's just like the one thing I'm starting to notice in the end game where it's just like, damn, I really just want to do one content over and over, and I can't self-sustain it with the tablets yet, nor would it be smart currency wise. Are you guys feeling anything like that?
You know what's funny? So at the beginning of 0.5, Kripparrian made this one video talking about Solo Self-Found. And in it, he was talking about all of the positives of Solo Self-Found, trying to like tell people like, hey, you should try it if you've never tried it before. And here's the reasons why you should try it. And it's funny. And I completely disagreed with this point. And your point was exactly what I said. He said that, you see, in a trade, you feel forced to play the meta. You feel forced to play the most efficient farming method. You feel forced to play this thing that, if you don't play it, you're going to be behind on currency. You feel forced to do it. Whereas in Solo Self-Found, you're not forced to do it. You can just do whatever you want. And I'm like, that is completely opposite of how I see it. It is actually, you are completely forced to do everything in Solo Self-Found, whereas in trade, you're not forced to do anything. You could farm whatever you want, and then if you don't have the currency for some other thing, then you could trade for it. So it's like, it blew my mind when he had that kind of perspective. But I'm like, why? I mean, again, huge respect to Kripparrian. He is the GOAT, if not one of the GOATs of Path of Exile. But when he said that, I'm like, I don't know, man. I do not agree with that at all.
Yeah,
I feel like, especially in this league, it has been a little bit extrapolated. I've personally, I've never felt it to be this this hard as it was this league, especially when I played the pseudo solo self-found that we just did in the THC league. But it's absolutely the case. Especially when you want to progress your character, if you are in solo self-found, like Kaltorek also just said, you have to do certain things. If you completely ignore Abyss, let's just say you, for some weird reason, you ignore Abyss in solo self-found, there is no progression to your character. Zero. In Trade League, you can ignore Abyss. You can just do ritual, get a bunch of purple omens, and for those purple omens, you can buy probably all the Abyss currency that you will ever want, because most people will do Abyss for the SSF reason. So I do feel like both things have kind of their positives and negatives a little bit. I think it's kind of awesome right now, because if you're playing solo self-found right now, it kind of keeps you busy, and I think that was what Cal said a little bit. You don't feel necessarily forced to do anything, but it will keep you busy all the time, because you're like, oh, I need to Omen of Light this staff that I rolled, and it didn't hit the right desecration that I wanted, so I have to do a little bit of Abyss now until I get an Omen of Light, and then I might want to re-roll this suffix, so I need a whittle or whatever. So if you enjoy that kind of playstyle, I think solo self-found is amazing, because it will naturally keep you busy. But yeah, I think for the vast majority of players, Trade League is just the perfect thing, and I think they alluded to that, and I think they even talked about it. I don't know which conversation it was. I think it was with Gazi and DM, and I think Mark said this is exactly what they intend, kinda, and they want to make this even more of a thing that people can specialize and then engage in the economy of the game and trade for anything that they might want with the stuff that they actually enjoy doing. And then I think that's perfect. It's just the choice of what you as a player enjoy to do. And I think most people will enjoy trade.
I'll also add something to the statement regarding playing the meta. And I think feel free to counter if you want, but I think 0.4 and 5, and maybe even 0.4 especially, was a good reflection of this. I don't think having a meta farming strategy, talking specifically about that in currency, really exists per se. Like, I don't think people realize or give enough weight to the fact that it's only unbalanced for that first couple of days for the early adopters, they're the ones that really benefit. And then the market reacts, just like the real world. And this is why I say 0.4, I think is a good reflection. I think you guys have even talked about on the podcast. While the temple, it was cracked. No one will dispute that. But after a couple of days, when all of those early adopters are just swimming in currency, well, they haven't been doing everything else. And then all of a sudden, you got people doing, well, I'll do a BIS then. No one's farming the BIS currencies. And all of a sudden, that currency is just worth ridiculous amounts. Same with the ritual omens. Early adopters are the ones that always benefit anything, and they'll typically be the blasters, the people that will sit there, read every line of the patch notes. You'll never compete with them, and I see it as a bit of it's a shame that people focus on that side of things and think it has such a negative impact. Those people will always be ahead of the curve. You'll never compete with them. And, the whole comparison, the thief of joy thing, instead of focusing on that, focus on what you do want to play. And typically, if it's not that thing, that other thing is, the supply is dwindling and those people need that thing, and you'll still end up doing well. And the game's, let's face it, the game's balanced in such a way that it's relatively easy at the moment, ultimately. You really don't need too much to succeed at the game. So, yeah, I don't think anyone is really forced to play a certain thing. I think that is an illusion that people paint. And, it's one of those things, if someone's not happy, they'll continue trying to be happy and they'll focus on those negative things. It's a bit of a shame. I wish people had a bit of a different perspective on that. And many people do. Look, don't get me wrong. But, there is a vocal minority, I think, out there.
Well, don't worry. We'll be diving more into that later when we talk about some of the hot takes we're discussing. But yeah, it's interesting because the market is very self-regulating, especially in hardcore. Though I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on this. We like async trade and the currency exchange has been overall just purely positive. But how much of like the negativity around currency farming and just like the friction that was removed by this is like, do you see any of it as really negative? Because I do see some people point out that like async trade and the currency exchange has sped up a lot of the friction and made it to where you could just really micromanage this stuff. I don't get involved in the currency farming to that level to understand like if that would actually be a thing. I'm curious if you guys see any negative impact from async trade or the currency exchange market.
I think that was kind of the argument that GGG always had a little bit, that it was always before we had async trade, everyone always pointed to GGG's reasoning being like, oh, we want the friction. And I do get it to a certain degree because the friction kind of leads to the fact that you feel like you're actually trading, whether it is now a little bit less. I don't know. I've heard someone describe it as trading has lost its soul a little bit, but overall, it's just the quality of life, in my opinion, always wins. There's just I don't think you couldn't say that it isn't a net positive always. So I do get the argument, but kind of at the same time I don't. Sorry, Miso.
I have a very build creator's perspective, and I cannot help but remember before async was in, and you just find that item and they're not responding. Or the moment you message them, they take it down, and then it's up for twice the price.
Yeah.
And you're going back and forth, you're playing this little game for an hour, and you're just like, where's that hour of my life gone? So I think the quality of life just, at least for me, far outweighs any. And this goes back to my point beyond those people that will take advantage of it, sure, and manipulate it. Like that stuff existed before as well. It's just a little bit less visible, and maybe it was a little bit slower. But again, those people always be ahead of the curve. So I think the quality of life aspect just far outweighs any downside. Personally, spend more time playing rather than messing around with all the heartache that used to go on before that.
I think the biggest downside of async trade has to just be bots. That's kind of about it. It really just makes it so that like flippers are a lot more efficient with what they're doing, with both the currency exchange and the async trade itself being introduced. Now, the thing is, for me, my perspective is always don't balance around bots. Like, of course, if there's like some low hanging fruit that's very easy to do and doesn't really affect people that much in terms of their enjoyment of the game, go ahead and do it, right? But if you're going to have to balance around bots by crippling the player experience to a significant level, I would never do that, because bots are like cockroaches. No matter how many of them you stamp on, no matter how many measures you do to go against them, they'll always find a way to come in and do something and make currency, make money, RMT, whatever it might be. So that's kind of the only real downside. But once again, I think it's not something you should be balancing around for and like thinking about.
Isn't that why the extreme gold cost exists? Is to slow down bots?
Kind of. I would assume that's one of the reasons why. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't get caught up in the currency exchange. I just liquidate my stuff to get divines to buy new stuff. So I've never really approached the game with that mindset. So I've always just been a little bit confused when people say that thing. Let's go back to the THC League. This is week 2 of the THC League. It has been super fun. The three of us have played hardcore in previous leagues, but FunkehChicken, this is your first foray into hardcore, correct?
Mm-hmm. I played for, I think, 3 or 4 hours in 0.4 THC, but yeah, no, I've had maybe 2 very half-hearted practice runs before this THC, and this pretty much been the first solid foray into it.
What is go ahead.
At least you got initiated now with the rite of passage that is playing hardcore for the first time with an absolute bullshit death. That was crazy. That's just how you get. That's how you get initiated. So if the listeners or watchers don't know Funky's first death on the THC League, it wasn't a cool one. It was one where I would have been very mad for a couple of hours. So you've been initiated now.
I don't even remember now.
Even more so, it was quite literally the first map of. I started up the stream. It was like just some obscure travel map, nothing special.
Oh, the chaos pop, right?
No density on the screen. It was just like one little monster, and all of a sudden these little chaos. Yeah, I don't even know if it was corpse exposure. It's like these little chaos orbs, and
were you running around with like 20% chaos res though? Like, weren't you like really low chaos res?
I had no armor applies to chaos, and I'd been talking about that for the 2-3 days prior. I'd sunk pretty much all of my resources for the whole week into trying to get that on a helmet. But still, the way that it happened was just crazy.
Yeah.
Blessing in disguise, though, because I was kind of looking forward to playing a new build. I was kind of getting a little bit bored of the shield wall because I played it in standard. So playing it again on the THC was more of a validation of a suspicion that it might be a good hardcore build. And I dare say I somewhat proved that. So, yeah.
Yeah. What is it about this? Oh, go ahead, Miso. Sorry.
I was going to say, do you guys, speaking of first hardcore deaths, do you guys remember your first hardcore death and how that went down?
Yeah, it was like 0.2 or 0.1, excuse me. It was like very early on in 0.1 because I have a friend who plays exclusively hardcore and he was trying to get me into it. And I literally never interacted with essence mobs before. And I opened an essence mob and it was the chaos one, Rune, I think, that does the purple slams. And I just it one shot me. I didn't know what was coming. Like I just popped the essence mod, instantly got slammed. I was like, oh, we're dead. It was just unceremonious. I think it was in Act 2 as well. It was leading up to, it was in the area where you have to click the 3 runes before you do the bone tyrant. Or whatever, or the the Titan, Essence mob in Act 2. I was like level 20 something.
My first one was Viper. the boat death. Actually.
I remember
the boat
your
death,
Viper
I
death.
think was number 2.
Viper is scary in the campaign. I came very close as well on that first THC character. Very, very close.
Didn't on
My
your
first
Viper death,
ever-
your walls actually closed all the way in and you got like pinched? Is that what happened? Or am I remembering someone else?
I played a monk on my first ever hardcore run. It was HCSSF run, and I played a Stormwave monk, and I think I stunned her at a weird time, and she went into the air and went into the immunity phase, and it kind of bricked her like the actual phase, and I just got so confused by it that I just ate every like I think 2 stabs in a row, and I was just dead. So it was skill, like it wasn't like any of the game's fault or anything. It was just me being stupid. I just got bamboozled by the weirdness of the phase, and then Viper it can be very deadly, but also at the same time, if you have that mechanic down, then it's fine. But she's kind of an RNG fight. I would say you can get super lucky, and she doesn't even do that phase once if you have enough damage, and she just decides to not do that phase, or she does it 3 times in a row. I think we saw it on the most recent first Exile Con race. I think one of the racers actually had the phase 4 times, even though he had very good damage, but she just immediately, every time she went out of the phase, she went back in, and it closed up so much on him.
It's crazy he doesn't have a cooldown.
The speedrunners obviously have no issue with that. It was just a nuisance for them because they have the timing of the dodges perfectly down to have the immunity frames. But she's kind of an RNG fight. We have a few bosses in the game where RNG heavily decides how the boss fight can go a little bit. I would say Arbiter, for example,
there seems to be a lot of quirks with certain phase transitions. I think Herminator, one of the viewers, I think he hangs around a lot of our chats, good bloke. I think he showed me Arbiter of Ash fight. I think it was him, where he literally phased at this real odd moment where you couldn't quite tell. And there seems to be quite a few bosses like that. They will kind of somewhat glitch out if you reach a certain threshold. And like you said, and then it's RNG as to whether they then immediately click into another phase or not.
I want to call it RNG, but RNG makes it sound like when you lose, you just got unlucky. You can skill your way through all of these situations, like Rabbit said, by like knowing the iframe, but that requires like insane skill. There are some bullshit combos out there, but I would say those are fewer than far, but like often, you know.
No. It's either hell. You couldn't be more wrong. It's either the game bugged and you died to a bug and the game is broken and GGG needs to fix that again.
You're right.
Or it's chat's fault.
You're right. My bad.
And chat said like a dumb thing at the weird time, and it's their fault. Those are the 2 options.
It's always
streamers always a winner. That's true.
It's always chat's fault.
True.
But there is the real annoying thing of like how if you use a slow on Arbiter, right? You like chill him or slow him, he will use his moves out of sync and overlap the moves more often.
Yeah, those are animation desync is awful in this game.
Like it's like those moves are not supposed to overlap, but because you've slowed him, it like makes those moves overlap and just undodgeable. It's really annoying.
Oh, Cal, your Arbiter fight was epic.
I thought I was gonna die into it, so I was just being as silly as possible during the whole thing. I'm sad my music was so loud when I went back and watched it back. That was a fun fight. I missed that shield charge Chronomancer, but she deserved to die. She had to go. New build's way more fun. Misa, what was your first hardcore death? We never heard yours.
It was in 0.1. I think I was in like tier 4 maps or something like that, and I was playing this Corrupting Cry Warrior, and people still clown on me to this day about it. It was such an unfortunate death. So you know those water hags from Act 3?
Oh,
like the
no.
ones that with the freaking bubble mechanic,
no.
right? So what ended up happening was I was in a tower map. I remember it's the freaking triangle tower map, the one that looks like Molten Temple or Sun Temple, right? I was in that map and I was walking around doing perfectly fine, and it was just like a super cool build. I loved the build. And then I was shouting my way around, and then I get put in the bubble, right? And then I and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm in the bubble. And then for me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go and shield charge out of the bubble to get out. And then when I press shield charge, this bogey comes around the freaking pillar, runs all the way up to me, and stands right in front of me. And I shield charge into the enemy. I recoil backwards and stay in the bubble, and I die. It was terrible.
So Miso, you're saying skill issue, yeah?
No, it sounds like Chad's fault.
This is Chad's fault.
Sounds like Chad's fault.
Chat faults, yeah.
Rabbit was fighting the mermaid boss, and he did a dodge roll through, and I had a heart attack. He was this close to drowning. It was so close. You remember? You know what I'm talking about?
And I didn't even notice. And by the way, someone clipped it after the fact, and I didn't even notice because I think I was mad at something else doing that. I was already like raging about something, so I didn't even notice. So
I've never seen the screens, the edge of the screens get that red before. Like you were this close to death.
Yeah, I also had the run in this league, and there's a clip, and we watched it back, and I think it was quite literally about half a second left before I was ripping by the time I paused. The scary thing with those is they can spawn the bubble directly on top of your head, and it's just trash mobs.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me too.
If you're not wary of it, yeah, it's
What's scary is that when there's two of them too, like when there's multiple of the balls around, it's just extra terrifying. They are like in softcore, like you don't really like. I don't think I've ever died to one of them, but like they don't ever phase me whenever I'm in the ball because I just dodge roll out of it, whatever. I'm like never fear of dying to it, but in hardcore, whenever it starts making that noise where it's like constricting on you, it's like, oh god, I'm dead. I can just immediately panic. I get why they're in the game, because as annoying as they are, they add a level of tenseness that is super fun.
You see, the worst part about my death was if I had literally just walked or done
anything else, just anything else.
If I literally just kept walking straight, right? Because I was shouting. If I just kept doing that and walking straight, I would have been fine. If I had dodged, I would have been fine. Literally, if I had done anything but press the shield charge button, I would have been fine. But because I pressed the shield charge button thinking I'm like, oh, I'll get out of here quick, that mob came up in front of me, I got hit, or I hit it, and then I just died because of that.
Yeah, it happened to me this league. I was playing shield charge, and an annoying thing about shield charge is the molten ball projectiles and chaos seed projectiles. You can shield charge into them. They have a hitbox that will collide with. And I was shield charging, hit a volatile seed as a hag ball was coming towards me. And like there was a panic moment where I had to dodge roll out of it. But shield charge is dangerous, man.
Talking about hitboxes, I think one of the most memorable moments in this league that I've seen, at least from your stream, I think I was lurking, was absolute cinema. It was that bone construct boss, and you're trying to shield charge it, and you're like moving around it. You'd literally like line it up precisely, and it would just go whoop.
Yeah, the bone construct. Like anyone who's done bone construct knows the hitbox on them is awful. But for shield charge, for some reason, there's only 2 points you can actually connect with them on. So if you like hit from any other angle, you just go whoop, whoop. And you just have to find those angles, and it was awful.
Yeah. I mean, we all know those like bosses in the pits, right? Whether it be like the Titan from Titan's Grotto or like the Bone Construct or any of them that are just not on the map, right? Like they have their own little pit area. Those always have like the worst hitboxes and like the most BS like moves. Like half the stuff's unblockable, even though when it's supposed to be blocked, like they're just terrible. They're terrible.
Have they fixed the Titan in the Grotto in terms of the buggy one-shots? Because I still get nervous when I see him in THC. Because I do vaguely remember in like 0.2 or 3, there was like, I don't know if it was technically a bug or if he was just overtuned, but he was like one-shotting so many people.
I've never had an issue with the Titan myself. The deadly bosses to me, like that's actually one thing I want to talk about is the deadly bosses. It's like you get a new appreciation for some of them. Like
Bone
Benedictus
Pit.
is freaking scary as hell. Like there's so many random bullshit one shots in that fight. Like everything he can do is just like, oh, okay, I might need to log out because he's doing this one crazy lightning zap. I think more people have ripped to Benedictus this league than probably
That
most
lightning
other
attack, I
bosses.
swear he does it after he dies. Probably 50% of the time when I face
Yeah,
him.
I get
I'm
out of the
always-
arena too. I
yeah.
just fucking get the hell out and wait because you never know if you're gonna get an after effect aftershock.
Yeah, I
That
always
fight
get out of the
sucks.
arena after he dies. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
out. I'm out.
Well, Blaze straight up said he doesn't do Benedictus at all. He straight up always skips that map.
I've been avoiding it as well.
I've since he said that, I've started skipping that map. I think that's the only map I hard skip. Trying to think off the top of my head. I get really nervous about the Fire Witch after my first death to her. Major Aimless, and I've never had this happen before, but Major Aimless said it's only started happening this patch. When the Fire Witch puts down her firewalls to do like the one-shot fire breath thing, she can put the walls on top of you now. And I don't remember that ever happening in any other patch. But it's happened to me like 3 times in this patch where the wall lands directly on top of you and it fucks with your first dodge roll. And my first death happened to it, and I've logged out every time it's happened since then.
I've had it happen since 0.3, so
Okay,
I'm sure
I've
it's
never
been
seen that
around
before.
since forever. But
It's
for-
super annoying.
For me, usually the dangerous one is when you have both bosses. You have the Ice Witch one and then the Fire one, because if you stand next to the Ice Witch, almost all the time she'll instantly go into that wall and you're just done because you're super far away from the Fire one.
Yep. Yeah, and I've stopped doing summoning circles because of the Fire Lady. Because apparently, if you do a summoning circle and she instant spawns, she can just like dead you. Like there are people. Cypher is the one who told me that he got killed by.
from that.
Yeah, she's the evil man. She's the worst one. It's crazy that she can spawn and instantly just firewall you, and then it gets a one shot even if you're max fire res. Like that damage is crazy.
Luckily, I'm a Chrono.
Chrono's sick. Chrono's super good for hardcore. How have you been enjoying the Chronomancer? Do you think the rework was good?
I think that from a hardcore perspective, the Chronomancer is amazing. Like, it trivializes so many problems, and from a Souls Self-Found perspective as well, because Temporal Rift solves so many issues. Like, you rarely ever have mana issues. You rarely ever have to use your health pot or whatever. Like, it just solves a lot of problems that you would normally have when you're kind of undergeared and like missing certain things. And also just the 30% less damage, like reduction. It's just insane. Absolutely insane. So like from a solo self-found hardcore perspective, I think it's one of the top tier classes for me. But when it comes to softcore, it's still, to me, still lacking in many aspects, because I always say this: Chronomancer is really, really good at something that doesn't matter at all, which is one-shotting bosses, and every class can one-shot a boss.
Yeah. What about you, Rabbit? Do you were you enjoying your journey on the grenade character?
Yes. I wanted to do something that I haven't done before, and since I'm mostly always in the caster side of things, I've tried grenade leveling before and I kind of hated it, so I wanted to give it another fair shot now, and now I kind of like it a lot. And overall, just tactician is I couldn't really believe that I have looked over the tactician for this long, because it's kind of perfect for what I look for in an ascendancy. It's super defensive. You have very, very good options. It has a very wide range when it comes to the reservation efficiency for the buff skills, and then the pin stuff is just amazing. So yeah, tactician was super awesome. I kind of wanted to try out witch hunter as well, but I didn't get around. And the original plan was to just go gemling before they probably nerf it into the ground. So no, very, very, very enjoyable. I kind of thought that I'm just gonna go for grenades up until the end game and then look for something to play in end game, but I ended up playing grenades for much longer. So was very, very cool. I didn't expect grenades to be that viable for that long.
Quick question. Like we're build makers and we all make our own builds. And you did deviate from Blaze's setup, but you did go into this
Yes.
following the framework of someone else's build. I'm
Yes.
curious, how did that change your experience, your perspective, and enjoyment this playthrough? Would you do this again, or like did you end up like enjoying the experience less because of it? I'm curious.
Um, I definitely enjoyed it from the perspective of trying out something new and just going with something that someone else already tested and trialed and errored a bunch of times, and then you have no idea what you're doing, kind of, and you're just following along. I did become a little bit of an obnoxious viewer at some point though, because I made it a point to go whenever there was something not 100% clear in the guide. I made sure to come into his chat and ask obnoxious questions like, "What is this? Why did you go for this in the guide?
No,
Why
Rabbit. Rabbit, it's more so, Blaze, I followed your guide 1-to-1, copied it precisely, but I'm doing 1/10 the damage. What's going on?
That is to this day, that is the question I do always, like, one of the biggest efforts that I'm trying to make in my chat and in my channel is always, I will answer your question, I will make an effort and try to answer your question as best as I can. The thing that I am starting to ignore at some point is exactly that one. Rabbit, I followed your build 1-to-1. I have exactly the same gear as you, even better sometimes. Why is my damage 1/10 of yours?
They're level
You're answering your
77.
own
They have
question.
greater
You don't
jeweler
have the
orbs.
same.
You know, they're like
No, it's
they're
just
doing everything wrong. Is usually what's happening.
and no, it was super fun because you're getting a good introduction into something that you yourself haven't like fully explored yet. I don't think I would ever go for a guide on a Spark Blood Mage or a casting Lich. Like good example for a very good example is also I wanted to do an Infernalist build like a few weeks ago, and I asked FunkehChicken a bunch of obnoxious questions because I just didn't know, and it's a good entry into understanding a build and then going your own way a little bit. And it's a lot of times it's a question that we get as build makers or as build creators or content creators in the build section. A lot of people always ask like, oh, how do you even start doing a build yourself? And it never starts from zero. You always look at something else and you're like, oh, this looks like a fun build, and then you acquire knowledge through those experiences that others have already made, and then you do your own thing, and then you start from zero, and then you use those knowledge bases to then create your own type of thing that fits your playstyle. And yeah, it was super cool. I would say now that I'm definitely a little bit more ready to make my own grenade leveling and tactician build, and it will probably, if Blaze looks at that, he would probably go like, "Oh, I would do that different," or I can definitely see the inspiration here. But that's, in my opinion, what is so beautiful about PoE2, and overall how the community has been for as long as I can remember now in PoE2. Everyone has always been super cooperative, which I really, really like.
I think you used a great word there as well, inspiration. I think any build creator would be able to resonate with that. That's what I dare say you'd be hard pressed to find any build creator who will legitimately claim to have 100% done everything.
I'm sure there's some.
Yeah. Well, there are some phenoms out there, yeah, maybe, but still, we all grab
I'm sure there's some that
you get little
There's no one that
nuggets, get
does.
some ideas, and then yeah, exactly. You massage it, you adapt it, you put your own bits and pieces on top of that. The game's really good actually in that respect.
Yeah, it would literally be impossible for anybody who thinks that they are capable of playing this game and learning nothing from anyone else ever and succeeding, you're an idiot. You would not figure out endgame farms on your own. You wouldn't figure out like any itemization on your own. And you're like, blah, 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 be in Path of Building, and you're using Path of Building then. You're not doing it on your own. You're using a tool that was outsourced by other people that figure all the shit out for you. Like there's literally no self-creation in this game at a high level. If you're somebody who's farting your way through the campaign and getting your way in the maps, sure, there's self-creation. But any like high-level builds, they are absolutely a collaboration. Every build, I talked about this with Jorgen, every build's a Frankenstein build. It's just a monstrosity of a bunch of different things you've put together. And sure, there are techniques that people discover or little tricks, little things, optimization paths that people do that no one else has tried yet. But it's always built on the foundation of other knowledge you've gained from other people. Like this game is way too complex to self-carve your own path at a high level, at least.
Personally, I wouldn't call somebody who uses Path of Building to build their build as like not making their own build. I don't know. That feels a little bit weird to me. It's kind of like saying like, oh, I'm not writing my own essay because I.
No, that's not what I said there. But the claim that was that you can make a build 100% on your own with no other knowledge, just you playing through the game. There's nobody out there who can make a good build with no tools or sources from any other places. If you use POB, you're making your own build, but you're using tools and sources that were gained from knowledge from other people, which. Yes, that you're still making your build. Sorry if I phrased that wrong.
Got it.
I'd maybe put a little asterisk on that in the sense that I think the game's tuned to such a degree that probably there'd be quite a lot of people out there who could succeed in getting through the game without anything. I think they've deliberately made the game to make that viable.
Yeah.
But
Like I said,
I guess it's worth stressing what you said. It's more top end, like when people consider those kind of meta kind of builds and things like that. You'd very rarely see that being a pure built from the ground up without bits and pieces from everywhere.
Yeah, like if you're talking about like you're talking about min max, definitely because in 0.1 we did not have Path of Building and we had no idea what we were doing. So
even like gem like combinations, right? Like whatever's the common support setup in like these skills, right? You've probably learned it from looking at other people's PoE ninjas. You've seen that these are just generic things that get learned in general. Like these are the support gems you use and stuff. Like those trickle down knowledge. Like sure you can do that to like white red maps, but like all the hyper optimizations of like we're talking about build makers here, right? Like these are people who are making end game guides. There's usually not people making builds and guides for like white maps, right? So that's what I meant by that is just, the actual build, like guide makers, I guess. I guess there's I need to differentiate the distinction between build makers and guide makers because there's a lot of people who are build makers out there who just spark their way through the game and do have great success. But I was more referring to like guide makers, I guess. Because they're the ones putting out the content that other people absorb, which we will be talking about later. Let's talk more about build creation in softcore versus hardcore. For me, in softcore, defenses are always on the top of my head, especially like playing shit like Thorns. Like you just have to be tanky enough to eat hits and shit. But like defenses is always like it's make it to where my boss damage can one-shot stuff, and then we fix defenses on top of that. But in hardcore, it is always defensives first, and then you're trying to fix boss DPS around it. It's a lot more fun to make builds this way, in my opinion. It's a much more interesting puzzle. I don't know if you guys have this vibe at all. Start with Miso.
I mean, I think build making for both games is fun, or both modes is fun. Personally, I just find that for hardcore, you definitely need to make a much more well-rounded build. Of course, you can do your glass cannons; it's possible, but it's a lot more risky, and you'd much rather have a more well-rounded character than one that is more focused on one side of things.
What about you, Mr. FunkehChicken?
I'm next. Oh no.
I was like, me and Rabbit are just eyed each other off. Like, who's gonna go Rabbit.
I think, especially, and I've noticed this once again in this pseudo SSF environment that we have. I think if you're going with a build and you want to create a build and you want to create a build guide for other people to use, I think approaching it from an SSF perspective is always an amazing way to start, to, in my opinion, test the viability of the build overall for the vast majority of players, because that is how a lot of people are playing. No matter what you do, and no matter what the point is in the league, most people will always have as an asterisk, like as an asterisk to your build guide or whatever, or as a comment for your build guide, that it's like unattainable for them. And I think it's always a very, very good way to start your build of in kind of a SSF atmosphere, that everything in the build is attainable through just in an SSF environment. But also at the same time, that doesn't work for every build, because a lot of the cool builds that you then get to in the more end game and in the more min-maxed section of the end game, those builds then will always require like specifications, and in most cases that just will cost you a bunch of divines or like well-crafted gear. So it's kind of, I do feel like that the best builds that are out there are always the ones that also work on an SSF level, but then have like this min-maxing kind of crazy part to it. But there will always be builds that are just good because you have to throw a bunch of divines at them. And I think we've said this on the podcast before. Cool builds in a lot of cases will just be very, very expensive at some point, and that's kind of part of it. But like I said, the best builds in the game for most players will probably always be the ones that anyone can build in SSF.
Yeah, there will still be people who will be like, that's too expensive for me.
Always. I just did a build, the Flame Blast ED Contagion Gemling. That build was destroying any content in the game, like 200% daily, everything. And I think 8 weeks into the league, the budget was like 250 divines, and there were people commenting, this is crazy. This is absolute craziness that you call this like a low budget build, where 250 divines is like half of the cost of, I don't know, Garukans. It's 250 divines
That's what's funny.
is 2 Rakiadas flow. And it's just like for a full build that just destroys any content in the, I don't, but that's fine. I'm not like mad about that, because it's always going to be the trap that you fall into as a build creator if you call something like budget friendly. And that's why I usually don't like calling builds like budget builds, because it has a different meaning for anyone. And that's what I mean. But the best builds are kind of the ones where you just get some energy shield on your gear, you get spell damage, you get some chaos damage, and your build just is able to farm succinctly, you know? So it
Right
really
now-
depends. That's why I kind of like this SSF atmosphere, in order to discover, because you kind of forget that sometimes when you're 2 weeks into a trade league as someone who plays 12 hours a day, you kind of forget about those builds, because why would you go for these builds, you know?
Well, first of all, 250 divines is not budget. Like, that was crazy to say that. Like right now, Reddit, like divines budget builds is 10 divines. That is a budget build. When someone's looking for a budget build, it's 10 divines. And I know
That's
to
what I
you,
mean.
that's
It's always gonna
nothing.
be something.
That's like pennies, but like that's just how I see Reddit defining it right now. Like you always see, I need a budget 10 divine build, and that's just like anything more than that's too expensive for them. I know 250 divines is nothing.
I don't get it. If you farm T50,
No,
if you
go for it,
farm
go for it.
T50 maps with any character, you farm T50 maps and you just do Hive Blood for a few hours in a day. That's like 50, 60, 70, 80 divines right there in a few hours. I don't get it. You know?
I don't get it.
I think
But-
both of you are perfectly highlighting a topic here, which is the word budget ultimately is subjective. It will mean
Yes.
something completely different to every single individual. And I've basically accepted the reality as a build creator that we'll probably loop back to what you just said, Rabbit. Ultimately, if something isn't SSF, it's not budget. That's just the reality. You just go for the lowest common denominator. If you literally cannot realistically just use trash rares, if you need anything that costs beyond 1 div and you can't farm it yourself, then it's not budget. That's the lowest point, and
Yep.
you make a 1,000 div build, you have people going, I've only got 100. Sorry, this isn't budget. What are you talking about? So you go, oh shit, okay, I'll make a 100 div build. Then you'll have people coming in, oh, I've only started and I've got 10 div. It's ultimately, if something is an SSF, it's
Yeah.
not budget. I think that is just the reality of the situation.
I would argue even SSF can be considered not budget because you can craft
Well, yeah,
things
for sure.
in SSF that are probably end up being worth, if you're on trade, 50, 100, however much div.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely do
That's what
that.
I'd say.
For
I'd probably
good-
go as far as saying it's just like pure rares. Anything specific, any specific boss drop or anything remotely rare on a loot table, you're probably going to be missing a portion of the player base. They're going to find it too hard.
Obviously everything is subjective, but for whatever weird reason, the last 2 patches, and I read Reddit a lot just to get subjects for the podcast and stuff, 10 divine just seems to be like the number that I see consistently brought up, and it just seems like there's going to be some verbatim around that. Maybe that's just on the Reddit space, but for whatever reason, if a budget build
It
in
feels
that
like a bit of a
ecosystem
sweet
is
spot,
10
I guess.
divine.
Yeah.
I don't know why in 0.1 and 0.2, every single patch I made was a shitty 10 divine build. So I've been stuck in that before, like where I just couldn't make currency. But that was also in an era where making divines was just super hard. They increased the drop
Yeah,
rate
it's
of
a lot
divines.
different.
Like getting to 10 divines right now is not hard. I don't get it.
Going back to your previous point, though, I'll just jump in also because I wanted to make a comment about the whole, what was it? Softcore versus hardcore build building. I may be a bit of an outlier here, but I've never really built my builds around the DPS side of things. That for me is not a power fantasy. Like I have seen literally builds with hundreds of millions of DPS and various content creator or just videos out there, and not taking anything away from them. You know, if that's the way you want to play, then all respect to you. And I can see the appeal to a degree, don't get me wrong. But seeing a 10 mirror build running away from a rare because it's got like a mana drain or something, like that for me is not a power fantasy. It's like seeing Thanos running away from a little kid with a lollipop because he doesn't have lollipop immunity or something like that. It's like the power fantasy for me in these games is sitting there getting hit by the hardest mobs in the game and you're just like, whatever, you know, if it takes me 2 seconds to kill them rather than 1, that's for me personally though. Like and that's maybe why I've gravitated towards armor and really trying to push the top end of armor builds, because that for me is fun. Like juicing expeditions and just sitting there in the middle of the hardest content in the game. And I was doing, I think, what was it? I think it was in 0.3, the strategy where you could, and I believe you can do it again now, where you could just get a whole bunch of wisps onto rares. And there was also that tablet modifier or something like that, which every rare you killed made the boss harder. And I think it was X Farmer X did that challenge and things like that. I think that was in 0.3. Making builds that can survive that kind of thing, that's fun to me. So this THC, I probably, maybe you lean slightly more into that, maybe go a little bit more defensive earlier, would probably be the only pivot that I really did. But ultimately, the builds end up being very similar. I do like to focus quite heavily on the defenses. But that being said,
I think you misunderstood what I said. I wasn't implying glass cannon builds. But in softcore, you want to get your damage to do you play ZDPS builds where you have 5-minute boss fights? Because that's like what happens a lot in hardcore.
No.
You
you're
focus
right
your
there.
DPS to a point where you get it to like 2 to 3 second boss kills, I assume, or like where's your average boss fight at? I guess?
No, that's a very good point. Yeah, I think most builds go to a point where you can kill a boss in 2-3 seconds, and then all the focus then just pivots towards defenses. Well, they kind of both go up the same time, but you do make sure you hit that point where you're just trivializing boss fights. But I do see a lot of not just guides, but I guess even demand, because that's what drives that, where typically my builds, big shout out to Captain Lance. He was probably one of the creators that I got a lot of inspiration for in terms of how I approached my content creation. I really liked his kind of vlog style evolution where he would tell a story of the different steps he would go through in builds. And it would be funny because I'd see the comments kind of changing in my builds, where the builds would so you're exactly right in your comments. Builds would start as kind of reaching a threshold with the damage. and people would be loving it. And then I'd all of a sudden actually be scaling the damage back because I'll be like, dude, guys, this is just overkill. You don't need this. But people are then coming in, I need to get my damage to 2 million plus on the tooltip or whatever. And there's people who really just love that stuff. And like I said, that's the way you want to play, fair enough. But it's interesting that kind of, I don't know, just people really, really want just see big numbers, really. Sorry, got off on a little bit of a tangent there.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I mean, damage, everyone plays for different reasons. I have always hated playing glass cannon builds. I do the exact same thing. I get my damage to where it's acceptable, maybe get a little bit over acceptable, and then I will scale back to optimize my defenses up. But I don't know. I've had a lot more fun. I wouldn't say a lot more fun, but it is an equal amount of fun navigating builds in the hardcore space with just a very different mentality approach. That's been really cool. What are you? I mean, I'm assuming you're planning on playing in future THE leagues, Mr. FunkehChicken?
100%. For me, it has been such an amazing experience that it honestly, I think in the future will feel almost like an official league in many respects. Like genuinely,
of us.
being converted, 100%. I genuinely spent like not an excessive amount, but like I said, I did a little bit of practice running. Like it felt like I was preparing for a proper league. And what is it? We're 2 weeks in, and I'm still
going.
Yeah, still going. So it came at a great time as well, because my interest started to drop off probably a week or two before THC started.
Yeah,
so it was almost
perfect.
I had my kind of 1-2 week break like Rabbit's having now, and it just led straight into THC. And fingers crossed we have 0.55 just around the corner, maybe a week or two into, what is it, August? No, September. So fingers crossed. It'd be really good timing.
For me, I've always struggled to get into hardcore. The challenge of it's always been fun, but I've never enjoyed the playing of it because I always just thought the best way to approach hardcore for me would be not to play the game the way I play it, which is making my own builds, doing weird shit that doesn't make sense in the environment. It was just play a meta build that I've played that would be clearly safe in the hardcore solo self-found environment. And that always just led to me just getting very bored. I don't know, I just not care about the journey, replaying a build I played. And the Shield Charge Chronomancer, it was like a spiritual awakening for me, where it's just like, oh, I should just play hardcore exactly how I play softcore and just be tankier. You still make fun new builds, still explore. And the most recent build I'm playing, this like blinking culling strike witch hunter, is like the most fun build I've played this league. And the Shield Charge Chronomancer is what led me to making this build. And I'm going to be playing hardcore every league with the THC league, and I could see a world where I become a hardcore main at some point. The only reason I ever thought I wouldn't play hardcore is because I wouldn't be able to play the way I wanted to in hardcore. And I do think that I'll always at least start softcore trade. Miso always makes the very good point that if you're doing really off the wall stuff, even in hardcore trade, you're not going to have the resources to really min-max the way you want to. Like the AoE maxing Jhin I did, that would have been impossible to really test out in hardcore without risking so much mirrors and shit. But yeah, I think
it goes even beyond the currency investment. As a build creator, and especially when you're doing content around it, it's the risk of the time investment. You have an idea in mind, you think it may work, risking it in hardcore and then ripping and being all of a sudden set back 2 or 3 days would be a bit rough.
That's happened to me twice.
Yeah.
My Witch Hunter died 24 hours at level 90 in his journey, and I immediately made it, and I had so much fun doing that. My brain tells me that should have pissed me off and I should have quit hardcore then, but it didn't. I don't get it. I don't know. It's just, I'm having fun playing hardcore exactly the same. I clearly won't ever do weird off-the-wall stuff, but I don't know. I've learned so much playing this hardcore league. Just navigating, I'm crafting now. I'm navigating defenses differently. It's been my favorite. This Teamy League has been my favorite league launch, including main leagues, in all of PoE 2. Like I've just
Agreed.
absolutely loved it.
It's definitely very hard from like a build creator perspective. Like I know we all consider ourselves build creators, but if you're making a build guide, right, and then you're trying to take people along that journey, and then all of a sudden your character dies, then it's like, well, I know a lot of people want me to make the next rendition or the next update to the build guide, but I can't.
Yeah.
No.
It like
Everyone-
delays it by a ton, and you're like, and people are like, "Yo, where's the next build? Where's the next update? Where's the next update?" It's like, well, my character died.
Everyone has to die in solidarity. Obvious choice. Like,
Yeah, if the
all in
build
this together,
creator
guys.
dies, everyone's got to jump off with the cliff with you. You know, it's over.
Yeah, new video update, ladies and gentlemen. It's time. Back to the beach.
the spaceship is coming. Put on your Nike Air shoes or whatever it was, and we're going. Heaven's Gate is waiting. That's an obscure reference. There's like one person probably in the comments now that got what it is. Can we continue?
Well, to Misa's point, I agree with him completely. It's funny, like I hate being a guide maker. I'm just going to be honest about it. Love Mobalytics. I put as much effort into my written guides as I can, but the guide making stuff is really hard. And like we've talked about earlier, it just gets nitpicked. It's like to be on repair, so it takes so much work, and that is something we have to think about with hardcore. You're absolutely right. It's like if you are in the business of making guides and you're wanting to help your community enjoy these experiences as well, that's a tough bridge to cross when you're playing hardcore, because that is something I've thought about. It's like, not that if I wanted to do a build for the Shield Charge Chronomancer, that ship has sailed. Jesus. So
I feel like I avoid some of those downsides that you mentioned with that whole vlog type style build content creation, because I feel like I at least I try and come across that way. It's like, this isn't a guide in isolation per se. It's more like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. This is kind of how it works. Do an update every day or two. Take them along on a journey. I find that we all get the comments and the nitpicking, but I feel like I avoid most of that. I definitely can't do the written guides, probably for the reason you say. But yeah, that works for me anyway. I've enjoyed doing it that way. It's more of a story rather than a pure standalone. Here's the build. This is the way to do it.
It's definitely very interesting the way you put it that way with like the written guide versus the story, because I used to also do like, hey, here's like, my build where I think it's good enough for people to play, and then I'll just make a video about it. And then as I improve the build, I will be like, oh, we just increased the DPS by X amount, or like, oh, huge upgrade here or there. But like that was like when I didn't write written guides. And the moment I started writing written guides, I felt like either it had to be a league start situation where everybody is starting from ground zero, and if not, then I would have to get it to a point where I'm satisfied with this build, and it is like, doing everything that it needs to do before I will make the build guide. Because there was a point where I was doing those like, oh, here's the week 1 progress, or like, here's when I finally killed Zesht, and then after that it's like, oh, I finally killed Arbiter. Like I would do that, but now I don't really do that anymore.
Yeah, I guess it also needs to be put into perspective that, like, I believe you and Rabbit both professionally do this, so that's then works.
Why not me?
A lot differently.
I've been Mobalytics partnered as long as they have. I write written guides too. What do you mean?
You're not you don't do it professionally, though. Ultimately, you still got your day job. So I meant from that perspective, where there's a slightly different.
Hey, we have a job.
Yeah, these unemployed losers.
I take the foot out of my mouth.
I'm a glorified hobby dev, by the way. So fake job at that level. I don't remember what I was going to say. What were we talking about?
Written guides
unemployment?
and making
written guides versus built. I'm the same way, Misa. To me, it feels like it's very hard to. Oh, sorry. Here's what I was going to say. The reason why I have the same approach as you when it comes to releasing the written guides is you will end up wasting a lot of your viewers' currency if you are doing those daily updates, because when you're carving something new, you're going to be experimenting. So day 3, I might be doing something. On day 5, I'm doing something that's completely different because I found a new optimization path. And the people that were on day 3 just spent maybe 50 divines setting that up. And now it's like, oh, on day 5, the build's completely different. So I used to do that style of Mobalytics guides day 1, and I'm updating it daily. I've completely stopped that because I started noticing just just these comments showing up like, I just fucking spent 30 divines on this helmet and now you're telling me I need this, like, you're using constricting command now? Like, what the hell, man? So that's 100% why I stopped doing the
it's an interesting take. I guess one important thing on that point that's worth, maybe this is a bit of a nerd engineering thing. In software development, we had this concept of like sprints and agile development, and it's kind of, I guess it's important to make sure that at least something that I do, so as much as it is, I guess, a story or a progressive evolution, each step is a functional build in and of itself, I guess is important to make sure, because then you do lose people or kind of lead them astray, I guess you could say.
Yep. That's literally how I felt, that I was just actually I couldn't do the experimental steps as a part of the Mobalytics, and I only do Mobalytics guides when I think it is something that, like, every step of the way someone like can follow and have success with, and it has to be a complete experience, like Miso said. Do you get caught up in that at all, Rabbit?
It's kind of a mixed bag a little bit. I think, why are you smiling? Why are you smiling?
No,
Explain.
No.
I think this will sound weird, but I think it's kind of an art form to do a written guide where the end result is that people don't have a lot of questions. I think that's kind of like a thing where I take personal pride in. If I do a written guide where people have the feedback of saying, oh, that actually explained most of the questions that I had. So this is strictly from that perspective. I do also do the type of update type stuff, because I always thought that's like the way to do it, especially when you're in a situation where, as a content creator, you're just, most of the time you're just a lot more time invested, and you will always be that little bit ahead that people can then always kind of go after you. And I think the written guide just needs to be in a way where you don't just, if you just put in your gear and your skill gems and everything, then you can also just post a ninja. I think a written guide should always be in a way that anyone can just follow it and have as least questions as possible. I think it's kind of a little bit like an art form. I would say.
A little bit of a tangent, but on that topic, I'm curious because I obviously don't write guides, but I've done professionally quite a lot of user interface kind of work and products in software development. Do you guys ever face the issue of people just do not like to read? Like, we had so many situations professionally, like even I always will remember this government website which we created where there was some very important kind of disclaimer information. We literally created a transitional page with like bold, high contrast text, do not do this. People just skip over it.
Yeah.
People's attention spans are like so narrow. And I don't think it's just one of those, it's, these days or this generation. I think it's just always been an issue because this was like 15 years ago. People just want the end result. They'll jump straight to the passive tree. They'll jump straight to the gems. You'll spend, I'd imagine, like I said, I'm kind of waffling on here and I'm curious to hear your responses, but I imagine you spend days, you proofread it, you review it, you'll do different iterations, you go, oh, I've got it just right, I've covered everything. And one of the first questions I'm sure you'll get is, what about this? How does this work? And it's probably like the first paragraph on the top of the guide in bold. You need this, and it's specifically answering that question, but you still get that question. Does that happen? I'm curious.
Yes.
All
Yes.
the time.
And it's
Yes.
crazy because
Yes.
just at Rabbit's point where he does take pride in his written guides, I do hold Rabbit as one of the best written guide makers, and he has like almost a philosophy in his like chat where like if he's getting repeat questions, he goes out of his way to make sure that repeat question is answered in his guide. He does not want to see the same question twice, and he makes a conscious effort to solve those questions. I don't have that attention to detail. I just want to make fun builds and share it with my community, and I will do as much as I can in the written guides, but at some point I can't cross every T and dot every I. I can't hold the hands that much. I do admire the length Rabbit goes to. I do not think I am a good guide maker for what it's worth. I think my guides often have holes, and some of them I rush through because I don't want to do them. I just make fun builds, but I think Rabbit is actually a very good written guide maker, and whatever his approach is, I always like. If I were to put more effort into it, I would be doing it the way Rabbit does for sure.
I think one thing that Rabbit, God, we're glazing here, but well deserved. I think one thing that Rabbit does well, and I also try and do. Well, I'm streaming now, but I try and do on my YouTube comments because I'm still probably small enough to be able to do it. Like the volume of comments isn't excessive. It's being really proactive and just being, I guess, accessible or happy to answer the questions. You just accept it. Like we talk about this and we kind of laugh about it as if it's like some big frustration, but I think most of us, and I definitely, like I said, glazing Rabbit here, because I've probably spent the most time in his stream, he'll always be very quick to respond and happy to respond. Sure, we may laugh about it at some times, but ultimately you've got an understanding that, it's going to happen. You just help people. It's easier to be helpful and nice than the opposite. So I always try and answer my YouTube comments as quick as possible and not take any offense or get upset about it.
I'm the opposite, bro. I need that sage wisdom in my life because I get so annoyed at the questions and just like, especially when they're like, very rude and short, or just like, why isn't this working? This build is not good. Like those ones,
The funny thing is,
the rest of the stream, and I'll just ignore people the rest of the stream because of that one dude.
The funny thing is, I've had some interesting experiences where someone will lead off with a very, I guess you could, to use the word you just used, aggressive kind of comment. And I'll just answer very kindly and go, oh, is this what you mean? I'm not sure if this, and then, you just kind of answer it. And then they will reply back, go, oh, shit, sorry that I was so bad. Thank you so much for answering the question. And you kind of diffuse it very quickly. But obviously, it's on a case-by-case basis. But, yeah.
You know what I have to say about clear guides and step-by-step hand-holding? There's a mechanic in the game. It's called Culling Strike. And sometimes the build might just be a little too complicated for you if you don't understand the mechanic. So you're probably not gonna have a good time anyways playing the build if you don't understand the mechanic. Sure. That's
and it's similar with the costs, I guess. So like a common response I've seen, I think all of us use is if you have to ask the question of how much this build costs, then it's probably not a build for you.
For sure. For sure.
I joke about it, but there is a part of my builds where it is kind of like that, so all my league start builds, I'll go, from start to finish, right? And then if it's like a second build after that, sure, I'll make a leveling guide. But at some point, I just stop making leveling guides for my builds because it gets to a point where it's probably too expensive / too complicated for somebody who can't figure out how to make their own leveling build, or find the resources to make a leveling build for it. If you're asking me, how do I level your character? At that point, for that character that I don't make a leveling guide for, it's probably not the build for you.
Same exact approach.
It's also if you already have to explain the differentiation between an endgame build and the part where you have to just level, then it's already it sounds like from speaking down to someone, but it is just that way. That's why I really like recommending I have a few builds, for example, in my case, where it's just taking you the build. You start the build like plants, for example. Perfect example. You start off by playing Entangle from level 1 up until the complete end game and the complete min-max stage. And the only thing that you do is just adding. But if someone asks me, how do I, like I'm playing a Spoik Demling Spoik Comet build or something, and someone asks, how should I level this build? The best explanation, the best help you can give someone is explaining to them how this is an end game build. No matter how you get here, you just get here. Pick any leveling build. You just get here, and then try to adjust, try to learn about this stuff. And always always the questions in chat, I just use them for guides or whatever. If I get the same question 15 times in a row in an hour, I just check the guide, and I'm like, is this not like accurately answered? And unfortunately, in most cases it is, but as we said, people just don't like to read. But I just see it as part of it. For me, it's always been like my payoff, I would say, for the frustration that I feel sometimes in answering those questions. At least people come to my stream to ask the question, and then sometimes they stick around to the stream. That's how I see it. So I will never get frustrated about those. In private, yeah. in general on stream, I will never get frustrated. It's like if we get like 10 people a day or something in like the League Start atmosphere, that people went in not knowing anything, and we've had like a part in them actually acquiring some knowledge and therefore having more fun in the game. That's awesome to me. I think that's so cool, because I want to share the excitement that I have for this game, and if it works like that, then perfect.
Getting the appreciation as well. The appreciation, getting the appreciation comments or posts are always nice as well. And I remember having a very humbling moment. I think it was with this league, where I think at one point I checked the PoE in Ninja and there was like 150 top end, because let's face it, PoE in Ninja typically normally has that level 80 odd cut off, and there was like 150 people playing my Shield Wall build. I was like just blown away. It's like, holy shit, I'm actually having a bit of an impact on what people play, and it was a bit of a reality check, or I guess really gave substance to what was going on. And I don't know, it was just a very weird moment and very humbling moment.
Yeah, I've had that moment before, where it was early on in like 0-2 or something. It was like, oh shit, I actually got, there's people playing this. Well, I was the only one using this setup before, and now there's like 12, and it's like, oh cool, there are people playing my build. That's so fun. Yeah, that's a really good feeling. It's a really cool feeling for sure.
Yep. And then on top of that, sorry to add to that, I had my first experiences of also putting out a video and then seeing actual massive swings in the market for some of the items. That was a surreal experience as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, what gets worse is now that you're a streamer, dealing with the shitheads who are like inflating the market while you're streaming. Like, I've been playing builds where the Prism of Belief went like me. So then, like, that happened to you. You're playing and the Prism of Belief for Hammer of the Gods like quadrupled in price while you were streaming.
No, it was during the podcast. I talked about the Hammer of the Gods build that CCG had made. And then the moment, like after that podcast, it like immediately shot up to like a couple hundred divs. It was like 30 divs before, and then after the podcast, it was like 300 divs.
I had a funny moment during
stream hounds, man.
I made like 900 divs that podcast. That was awesome.
You talking about that, I did have an interesting moment a couple of days ago where I remember, because most of the people that are hanging around in my stream at the moment is very, very THC centric. A lot of great guys who are actually typically playing as they're lurking or whatever. I don't know how they do it, but I think there was one moment I was sitting there and I looked at an item on the market, and we all know that the supply is so thin on the THC league, and I'm sitting there going, damn, this is a real good deal. Like, this could be really strong.
No, they got sniped under you. That's happened to me.
And in the back of my head, I'm going, oh shit, if one of these guys just like gets in there and snipe this, I'm screwed. It's like, maybe
That's
I should
happened to me in the real
Yeah.
league in Softcore. I was looking at a belt for like 2 minutes. I was like, this is really good, but I'd have to change stuff. And then when I went to click on it, it's like, this has been sold. I was like, oh, you fuckers. one of you sniped it.
I've been very lucky. I don't know. It's glazing my own community here, but that never happened to me ever.
Well, it's because no one wants to buy anything you're playing me. So come on.
All right,
Kidding,
Cal.
kidding,
All
kidding.
right, buddy.
Kidding. All right, let's start a new segment this week. We're doing something. We're gonna be trying it out. I'm calling it hot takes.
Before
I've
we
seen
go
this
into
on
that, I
other
want
pod-
to.
Go ahead.
I don't realize that we never did this on the podcast. We never mentioned on the podcast itself that the Hideout contest winners are now posted, and I will.
Yes, we'll have that linked.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
for anybody who,
my bad.
yeah, for anybody who was curious about like the Hideout contest winners and wanting to use one of their hideouts, I'm going to post in the description and the pinned comment the link to the post that has all of the hideouts.
Yes. And shout out to everyone who, and if you are one of the winners, please respond to my email. We need your regions. Thank you. All right, let's move into this new segment called Hot Takes. It might not be every week, but anytime I see some fun hot takes, either from us, the panelists, or from the community, I want to highlight them. Please, in the comments, if you're going to recommend a hot take, please put hot take at the front, because some of y'all just say crazy stuff that I don't know if you're wanting it to be a hot take or not. But we got some fun hot takes to discuss. And
sorry. Do you have a jingle? We have a jingle for only for the
Misos.
segment. Is there?
No, and it's better this week. Trust. We're still gonna do it.
Yeah.
There's no jingle for this one.
No
you
jingle?
can do a jingle for this one. You want to do the jingle?
Kalturax hot takes. Kalturax hot takes. Just for boomers and tourists. Kalturax hot takes. There you go.
I like that. That was great.
Epic.
Someone who's a sound engineer make an actual, good intro song.
Oh, please don't. Please don't.
That is 100% getting clipped and reused.
This is actually an interesting hot take. We're going to do potentially two hot takes, but this is one that I think that we have actually countered or argued against on the podcast. The difficulty ceiling does not need to be increased. That for off-meta builds, especially in a solo self-found environment, that the game is harder than ever. And it is really just in a trade environment and with these hyper-optimized builds that the game has become trivialized. We have constantly said that we want the ceiling increased. We have constantly said that we want Uber bosses added. And I definitely thought this was at least a hot take. Not a super hot take, but a hot take. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Rabbit, you're usually the one.
Do we give it like a Celsius scaling at the end of the take?
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe we'll do
that could be nice. No, I wouldn't say that's like the hottest of takes, because I really get it. Even though I am someone that has, like, from my perspective, has been advocating that I think it would be positive for the game if the skill ceiling or if the difficulty ceiling, especially on certain pinnacle bosses, would be increased. I think that would be a net positive for the game, either both for the sweats that play a lot and also for the casual players, because it is something just to elongate your playtime and to aspire to. But I also, at the same time, I do get it, because it's always going to be subjective. It's kind of like the budget thing for builds. It's always going to be subjective. Like Timmy Two Shoes over here is going to have a much different playing experience with certain pinnacle bosses than Mr. Flying Fopgun or something. It's always going to be subjective. And there's always going to be two or more opinions on that. And I've always clearly stated that from my perspective, I think it would do the game good if we had actual boss fights, and the boss fights would be in a way where they are not just pushovers after you've done them a few times or even like 2 or 3 times. But no, I get it. It's always going to be subjective. I don't think it would be such a big bad thing for the people arguing for that the game is hard enough right now. I don't think those people would then all of a sudden quit the game because there's even a little bit more challenge to some pinnacle bosses now. That's just my argument. But I have to say I do empathize with that perspective 100%.
Thoughts, Miso?
I mean, I think there's a couple things I want to comment on this about, right? I think the one of the things that I always go back to is that one time we had log call on the stream, and this is like a little bit separate. Like the context of it was different, but it can still be applied here. And that it is right now you might be in a situation where you think the game is too hard, or you think that the content ceiling is too hard. But at some point, you're going to get good enough at the game. You're going to get, to that point where you are going to start getting close to that ceiling. And at that point, you're going to start complaining that the ceiling is, too high, right? Or too low. And it's about having that runway to keep yourself engaged and having things to work towards. Because Path of Exile in these games in general is all about progression, in my opinion. And once you get to that point where there's not really a way to progress your build, or it's like, I'm hitting a point where I could just trivialize everything. What's the point of progressing my build, right? Then the game starts getting boring. And being able to extend the playtime of your game is what everybody wants, right? Being able to play the game imagine if you were able to have enough content to play the game for 4 months. And then after you're done getting to the 4-month period, it's the next league. There's so many people that are like, oh man, I can't wait until the next league. I can't wait until the next league. Imagine if there was enough content, and this is never going to happen, by the way, because it is never going to happen, probably, there is always going to be a portion of people that's going to finish the game fast. But imagine if there was a world where you are playing the game and your character isn't done, or you haven't done all the content until a couple months in. And you'd be like, okay, well, I have more to play. That would be a lot. I think that would be a good thing rather than a bad thing, to me at least. And I think that from that perspective, it's good to always have, harder and harder things to do and harder things to chase. But of course, you have that other side of things right now, which is the reason why we don't have the harder content. It's the balance of the game, the balanced state of everything, which they have said before. The reason why they don't release Ubers is because all the builds are not properly balanced, and they need to get a better level of balance before they want to introduce those things, because they want a larger percentage of the builds to be able to do that content. Because if they introduced Ubers now, there would only be a top 5% of builds or whatever that would be able to do all that content. And then all the other builds will just feel super weak unless you're throwing mirrors of currency at it to maybe potentially take on those challenges.
Yeah. And I would say it's probably 5% of builds that can handle the hardest content in the game right now, which is probably Juice Expeditions. Not every build is walking into max rune chaining, right? So if that was the ceiling that all Ubers were scaled to, that's probably not a good environment, right? In terms of balance. So I agree with you 100%. And yeah, that was a good reference to what Alcohol said, because I've always thought about that whenever we see, the game has gotten easier. Sure, it has, but you've also improved dramatically at the game. You're just better at it, a lot better. I agree with that 100%.
It's funny. What you just said reminds me of this whole argumentation around World of Warcraft. It's like when Classic re-released, like the Vanilla Classic when was it re-released, in 2021 or something? Everyone all of a sudden was like, damn, I didn't remember this game being this easy. Everything is solved all of a sudden. People are rushing towards a Molten Core in 2 days and whatever, and everything is just super easy. People are doing Molten Core with level 50 rates or something. Yeah, the game is out for 20 years. People have solved everything. Back then, when you played Molten Core for the first time, you were 13 years old. You were dog shit at the game. You didn't know your left hand from your right hand. It's the natural thing, and it's the same in every game, and it will be the same for PvE2. People in 1 year are gonna look back and be like, damn, I can't believe I died to Orbiter 2 times back then too. It's just, that's why I'm saying we should be always looking at, especially boss content, in my opinion, to be scaling a little bit more, because more people are gonna then have this to aspire to.
I also think there's a funny thing about that, because with that comment, right? Oh, 13 years ago or 20 years ago, I remember that being super hard. And you probably remember 20 or 30 years ago when you were a kid, let's just say, right? Maybe some people a little bit longer. When they were playing these games or whatever, they probably couldn't reach the pinnacle of content. but you still remember those days fondly because you had a really good time playing it, right? So it's like you don't have to be at the tippy top to enjoy the game. I don't know why we've gotten to a point where I'm not at the highest level of content, or I don't get to play that 500, 600, 700 div build. I'm having a terrible time with the game or something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know how we got to that mindset where it's like you have to be able to have everything, no matter like how much time you spend on the game or how much understanding you have in the game, and you're just going to complain about it if you don't have it. Like, I don't know how we got to that point in the world where that's the case, where back then
the internet,
it's like
accessibility.
I guess it's just like it's changed our mindsets. And I mean, that probably leads to the next topic that we're talking about after this on the hot takes, Cal. But I think well, I'm not trying to transition us because Miss FunkehChicken has to go with his take, but it's I just think it's weird and crazy because I remember being a kid, and I've referenced this before, and Farmer laughed at me for this, but when I played Path of Exile 1 back in the day, I had a lot of fun with the game, and it's why I continue playing it. But literally, I think I would end the league with maybe 5 divs at most, maybe sometimes without a div, and I would still have very fond memories of that league and be like, all right, I'm coming back next league.
So to show my age a little bit, I remember the time where if you couldn't beat a game, you had to ask your mum or your dad to drive you to the newsagent, buy a magazine, hope they have an article on the game with a guide of how to pass the level that you're stuck on, or you just bash your head against the wall for weeks on weeks until you did get past it. So, yeah, days before the internet were something else.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
I had a Final Fantasy folder from my neighbor had printed out or had copied like pages from a game magazine for Final Fantasy IV, because I couldn't for the life of me find out. He had a golden chocobo. He had like the Bahamut Zero or something from the underwater boss that I never. There was like a whole new. You wouldn't even run into that. Everything is solved from the very beginning, and there's not a lot of people that enjoy this whole going in blind type of playstyle, right?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the difficulty ceiling hot take, Mr. FunkehChicken?
So let me collect myself. I've got a few points on this, and I'll probably echo a lot of the comments Miso and Rabbit have already said. So I'll lead off with the fact that, I definitely fall in the boat where I'd love to have harder content in the game. I think any of us that play the game to levels we do would share that sentiment. But I've probably come around recently, and in terms of how strongly I feel about that, or the understanding about that. And a big turning point for me was it the 0.4 or the 0.5 dev interview, where they actually gave some insights into the statistics? Because to marry that up with some of the comments that have already been made, ultimately, if you ask any one individual's opinion on this topic, again, much like the currency and much like I think Miso said it as well, it's subjective. So everyone's going to have a different opinion on it. But data analytics and data is ultimately hard fact. And it was quite eye-opening. Like, I think all of us probably knew that not everyone does bosses or content as quick as we do. But hearing the actual statistics, I think surprised me at least, where I think they said that on average, I can't remember which boss they talked about.
Yeah, I think it was the Act 2 boss. The Act 2,
it was like, what was it, 2 to 4 minutes or something like that, or even something higher. I think it may have been 5 minutes. And that was a real eye-opening moment going, wow, like I knew probably most people took a lot longer, but to that extent where that is the actual average, like that was quite eye-opening. And I think, considering we're still in early access, the whole point of PoE 2 ultimately was to bring in new audiences. I think they're very deliberately taking this approach where they're laying a foundation. Their priority at the moment is retention and getting in new players. They're really ultimately, They do some service to us because obviously there are a lot of hardcore players who ultimately, I don't think, I try to take an approach of never feeling like I'm entitled or owned anything. They provide a product, I choose whether to play it or take it, but they're such a great company, and I think we all have a very high opinion of GGG, where they do cater to us to a degree. They try and give us little bits and pieces and ways to play the game that we want to play. But I think their main goal is ultimately getting in the new audience and making the game fun for them. And if you make the Act 2 boss, like let's just say that was the boss that they did mention, harder for us, and it was already a 5-minute fight for the average Joe, they're going to lose them if that fight all of a sudden becomes either undoable or a 10-minute slog. No one's going to go through that typically. They don't want to make another PoE 1. And when I say that, it's the PoE 1 as it stands now, which has had its audience come up through 13, 15 years, whatever it is, where the community and the hardcore players and the people that will show up every single league is established. It's why that hasn't ever, it's grown to a degree, but not to the numbers we're seeing in PoE 2, because their whole approach is to get those new players in. So I've really come around to the fact of accepting that is what they're trying to do. And to try and also touch upon a point you made, a great point there, Miso, about longevity or how long people play for and how that it is important. And I wholeheartedly agree, again, from my perspective. But touching upon another thing that GGG has said is they've quietly said one of their philosophies is having an endpoint for the game. Like they've stated, I think in no uncertain terms, they actually want the game to have an ending where people can walk away, take a break, play other games. They're happy for them to do that and come back in the next league. And unfortunately for us, that's probably a lot earlier than we would like. But for most people, they probably hit that point at a pretty healthy point where, I think, and again, this is going back to what you're saying, Miso, where they will get strong enough, they will trivialize the game, but that's like 1 month, 2 months, maybe longer. Maybe they play throughout the whole league before they hit that point. But it's they have all the statistics and the data. They I'm sure, are designing the game at this stage so that point is at a point that they're happy with. And I think the content that we're striving for will ultimately just come in time. And what I would personally like to see and hope potentially, if anyone from GGG is listening, I don't want to speak for everyone, but when they do add that hard content, I'll be more than happy for there to be no item-based or power-based reward for that at all.
That's cracked. That's cooked. You got to have power. The reason we play ARPGs is for loot. You couldn't.
But I mean, I think to draw an example of what something.
I get where you're going with that, but you're worried about people being FOMO'd because they can't do hard content. I just disagree hard with that design philosophy. Yeah. You can make a game for both audiences, and I think GGG is succeeding at that. You can have challenging content that the sweats can do, and the casuals should never expect to achieve that. A casual should not expect to do uber bosses, and that's okay. Both can exist though, and both can be I feel like there's always this discussion of who's the game designed for. Both. They are actively treating both audiences with attention and respect. And I agree with what you were saying that the casual audience needs a lot more focus right now as they're being onboarded for sure. But I don't think at GGG ever looks at it as we have to choose between the both of them. I think I guess I'm not making decisions for both.
I hear what you're saying. I guess I'm not specifically talking about that. I'm talking to give some, I guess, current, to kind of weave in a current example. Let's just say they added an Uber boss and it's the one that drops voices. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, well, shit, that's not really Uber content. That's just content that you...
Well, that's not how GGG would do it, though. GGG always does...
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Drops it, and then harder content increases the rates of stuff. So That's just like not a thing that would
I
happen.
personally like content, and I think this is something. I hate to bring up Diablo. I'm going to sound like Rabbit just bringing up Diablo all the time.
What's so bad
Doesn't
about
mean
that?
Like the never-ending kind of levels that you can go down the ladder things. A lot of people who strive for this harder content, I think. Like again, I don't want to speak for everyone. Maybe this is just me and I'm weird. I don't want harder content to get better gear or more currency. I want to do it just to push my builds, to elongate my season, to have a reason to get that, next tier of gear. Like, because there's so many layers of gear and like how good it can get. Like, we've got the jewels at the moment, and you reach a point of the builds at the moment where it just feels pointless. I'd love to not have that. And I don't necessarily need that content to then drop me something even better, which then like 99.9% of the player population can't get. I just want it so it extends my season and maybe a little bit of a flex along the way, compare with your peers, have a bit of banter. Oh shit, I can get to level XYZ. Oh, you can only get there. You suck, whatever. I'm joking, obviously, but that's what I
games
love.
Have shown
that kind of content.
I think games have shown that design just doesn't work. Challenging content has to be rewarding. Like that is just how like I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong with thinking about it because it's like everything's based off your perspective, but like most people would not do
what I'm
that
trying to say is
at your saying. They would be
I hear
creating
you,
that
and
content
you're
for
right.
0.0001% of players to engage in it in that situation, and that's not.
But that's
not
I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is because I 100% agree with you. I'd love it if like 95% of the game was designed in the fashion that that you're kind of saying. I'd just love it if there was that little bit extra added on top for people like me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that there doesn't need to be an item-based reward or something like that in that little bit extra, which allows me to play the game that I want to play. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying that it should be designed to cater for the fact that you're
what
talking
you're
about.
saying. I just disagree with the point. That's what the hot takes. That's what the point of this the discussion was to bring up these hot takes that would hopefully
discussions.
Kalturak's hot takes for boomers and tourists. Kalturak's hot takes.
I think that it can go both ways, honestly, from a game design perspective. I don't agree with having zero reward, but like you can make it like a what is it called? A non-power reward. It's basically like, It's kind of like racing, right? If you get first place, you get a demigods. It's like, do you get any power off of that? No, but you get to show it off. You get to be like, I have a demigods for this race or whatever, right? Which is what a lot of hardcore raids in let's just say WoW or whatever do, right? It's like you get the title, you get the shiny title that says you've done this huge challenge, right? So I don't think there should be no reward because people wouldn't really do that, but it doesn't have to be like a power reward. But at the same time, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about FOMO, right? As a kid, I remember looking at some guy, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this in your MMO. Was like, oh my god, that guy has that super shiny mythic armor. Like, I can't believe I you yourself would never imagine you being able to get that, but you're like in your mind, you're like, damn, imagine if I could get there. Which goes back to my thing about when have we gotten to a point where we can't just sit here and admire those who have been able to take on the hardest challenges. Right. Like, why do we have to all be able to take on the hardest challenges? If I suck at the game and I know I'm not good at the game, why would I expect to be able to do that? It's like, sure, that gives you extra power or whatever, but does that ruin my experience of the game? No, I'm still having a really fun time with the game. So it's like, why do we have to pull down the experience for people who can get there to cater to somebody's FOMO? Because they're probably still enjoying the game a ton, but they're probably just complaining that they can't get there. Like, they keep playing the game. They keep playing the game, but they keep complaining. Like, why do you keep complaining the game if you're not enjoying it? It's because you are enjoying it, but you're just FOMOing that you can't get that item. So again, I don't know how we got to this point, but I think both like, perspectives can work, right? For the super chase content, like maybe make it a cosmetic reward rather than a, power reward. But I don't see there being a problem with making it a power reward either.
I also
I
just
think
feel
we-
like completely disconnected from the reward aspect. I
Yeah.
think hard bosses are just fun. I think it can just like completely disconnected from rewards or anything. I think in an actual boss fight where you have to maybe try a few times and then you learn the mechanics of it, or you become better at playing like specific phases of the boss or whatever. That just sounds very fun to me. It's infinitely more fun than just running in and then here we that dead. It's more fun to me. It completely disconnects a little bit from the whole reward aspect for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is from a bias, at least for me, that would be from a bias of a build maker. To me, it is, can this build do this content? And then I do it once, and I'm like, yes, it's done it. I don't think 99% of players would give a shit about doing that. But let us know in the comments down below. That hot take took a lot longer than I thought. Are we good going over, or do we need to wrap up?
I'm fine.
Do we have time for this next hot take? Is going to be probably a yapper. So are you
Is
good
it
for another
just
30
one
minutes,
more?
Rabbit?
One more?
Is one more hot take. Is one more hot take.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, one more.
We'll do one more then. Well, shout out to Jerry the Beans. He is the one that made the difficulty ceiling comment. The next one is going to be a little bit of an awkward one, but we're going to do our best to navigate it as well as it can. It is crazy how many comments that were just, the hot take was streamers are ruining the game in one facet or another. Whether that's them influencing the economy negatively, whether that's them influencing RMT or whatever. And it's just crazy how often it popped up. But I'm going a little bit of a rant here. It is crazy to me that how many of these people don't understand how much of their experience has been made by these same streamers. The builds they're playing, the currency they're farming. If we just completely got rid of all streamers and all content creators, you guys wouldn't have any of the shit you're playing with. So like, yes, there's a give and take, and I'm sure these people are like wanting us to like, Thubgun's ruining everything. He's the RMT king. Like, I'm sure that's what the comment they're wanting us to make on this podcast, but I don't know what you expect from a group of streamers to say about you guys hating streamers. I don't know how to approach this conversation. It was just so crazy how many comments were just like, streamers ruin the economy. Streamers are ruining like how we approach builds. Streamers are making the game too easy. GGG designs the game around streamers. Like, people genuinely think that, and maybe I'm the one with the hot take that thinks that's cooked. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? Let's start with Mr. Rabbit. Are you ruining the game, Rabbit? Are you? I knew this would be an interesting one.
I will never understand this this type of thinking. I don't know. It might be. I'm obviously very biased here. So
yes, we're all biased, by the way.
I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who is a streamer, but I really I don't get this, and I think it's something that people just do. Not just in video games and anything. It's just always, I don't know what the right expression for it is, or if it's like misery likes company, or it's like just looking for outside factors to stuff that you don't like. I don't get it. I especially don't get it in like a video game context. Dude, just play the fucking video game. Like, are you enjoying your time or not? But if you're like projecting stuff in order to artificially get mad at something, I really don't get it. I even think it's like a topic or conversation that's even too stupid to even talk about.
Right? I didn't know if I should put it on the list, dude. I literally thought the same thing. It's too stupid to talk about.
It's like, yeah, I guess if you think I'm ruining, like me streaming the video game is like ruining your experience, okay, yeah, that's fine with me. I don't
right, what's the solution be? What are we supposed to do from here, right? Now that we've agreed with you, we're ruining the game. What do we do next, I agree.
Yeah, it's just like, Okay. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this, Miso?
I mean, personally, right? I think this question has a lot to do, and there's a lot of connections with the previous question that we had, circling around FOMO and stuff, because I think the biggest impact that streamers have, on like the negative side of things, that can be seen as like yeah, this definitely is, not great, is like it does create a lot of FOMO. Which once again, I don't give a crap about people's FOMO, because that's your own like, that's you. You can totally control your own FOMO, right? But the other thing is, I think we need to think about it this way, right? Even if streamers didn't exist, it's not like these strategies wouldn't be employed. Somebody would find these like OP strategies or whatever, like, find things that would break the economy, and it would probably be shared on like game facts or like the forums. And it would get out there anyways. And the thing is, right? If there was in that situation where there were no streamers and it was just all being shared on a BBS or whatever, it would be way less people having access to those strategies. Like way less people would know about like what's the most lucrative farm for ritual, what's the most lucrative farm for expedition, right? Without these FUB gun guides telling us how to play, what the best farms is, those people that end up finding those methods end up being the ones who monopolize and control the market, and then you have way less access to, like, those people will be controlling everything, and they would be dictating the price of these super expensive items, and you would never be able to chase those because you don't know the strategy, because it's so hard to find or it's so not widespread, right? So in fact, the same result would happen whether there were streamers or not, in my opinion. It's just that even less people would be able to take advantage of the positive parts about having content creators compared to now, where it creates more FOMO, but way more people have access to this information.
Yeah.
I would
That's how I
also say,
think about
because
it. Go ahead.
the point has been raised in chat that it's mainly also about opinions of streamers, but that's also
That's the vibe I get.
that's like, yes, if someone has an audience like that, and this is just the nature of what the content creation space is, someone that has a certain type of audience, because there is a good amount of people choosing to listen to that person or watch that person, so the all the opinions that that person has get like megaphoned a little bit. That isn't the same as that person thinking that their opinion matters as much as it gets megaphoned out. Like, for example,
Yeah.
everything that I say, I always I'm not at all of the opinion that my opinion is worth more than anyone's. I kind of think that sometimes I even go like overboard in like subjectiveness sometimes, and I just it's people misconstrue that a streamer has a certain audience or like a pull when it comes to certain opinions, with that person actually thinks their opinion also has more weight like that. Yes, I'm gonna assume there are streamers like that who think, I don't know,
Yeah.
their opinion matters more than other people, but that's like, I don't know. I at in the end, I personally don't think that GGG designs the game just because of like, I don't think GGG
Agreed.
does it that way. I don't think
Horns would
GGG
be
is
best by
listening
now.
exclusively to stupid streamers, because they
there's-
shouldn't.
There's
They
a
don't
really
need
good example
streamers'
right now,
opinions.
actually, of that situation happening, of how it's showing that streamers are not affecting anything. I mean, not affecting anything, but aren't affecting the design in the way that you think it is. Because you think like, oh, FUB Gun's ruining the game. He's the biggest voice, right? In Path of Exile 1, FUB Gun is constantly complaining right now about ground loot. Guess what they haven't buffed yet? Ground loot in Path of Exile 1. They keep going the opposite direction of what he's going for. So,
Yeah.
I mean, sorry to cut you off. I just thought it was like just a perfect, a perfect example of that. Exactly what you're saying.
Before, like, for me, it's just, let's just say that all of the negatives that streamers that they bring up all exist. To me, the net positive that most content creators have brought to the space via information sharing. Like, if you didn't have the FUB gun guides, you wouldn't have currency to get the builds you want to. Like, it all, like, there's no way the net positive of streamers doesn't greatly outweigh streamers, content creators, whatever you want to call them, outweigh the negatives in my mind. And I mean, maybe we're just hyper biased. What are your thoughts on this whole discussion, Mr. FunkehChicken?
So very quickly, if I disappear tomorrow, call the police. I've been inducted into the covenant here. We had to sign waivers. I'm going to drop a bomb here. There's a waiver we have to sign. We need to ruin the game. All right, I'm part of it now. I can let you guys all know.
Don't tell them to that.
No, dude. Our secrets.
I've got a few takes on this. The first one I'd probably say is, from a pure business point of view, streamers and content creators are probably the most powerful or one of the most powerful marketing tools GGG probably has. I'd imagine there is
just
a vast...
in game development in general. Indie developers, 99.9% of the time when they blow up now, it is via streaming. Like, streamers are like a massive marketing tool in game development. Sorry to cut you off, but just wanted to echo your point.
Yeah, exactly the point I was trying to make. Like, can you imagine the effect it has on the game and bringing more people in? Twitch having PoE2 as the number one, game in terms of viewership. That people are social creatures. They will tend to gravitate towards games, sometimes that they don't even necessarily would consider as their favorite genre or not. But if everyone else is playing it, let's go play it as well. It's on Twitch, it's blowing up. I want to be a part of that. I think from that perspective, it has a massive net positive effect. Look, in terms of the individuals that say it, I used to, maybe it's age, wisdom, God forbid. I tend to start to feel sorry for those kind of people. I've pivoted or gravitated away from kind of getting worked up or, reading too much or responding to it. I feel sorry for them. It's a reflection of, I think, Miso, you touched upon it. It goes beyond just gaming. They're people that are probably typically miserable in life as well, and they're venting. They're like the whole misery likes company cliche. I just treat it with indifference and just don't give it any fuel. I feel sorry for them and leave it at that. It makes it easier to deal with them. That's all I can really say on that facet of it. It's unfortunate. It's sad, really, if nothing else.
You've broken his heart, everybody. You've done it.
And one last thing, maybe to finally close it off or whatever, so we move on. I think that, going along with kind of the point about FUB Gun earlier with his comments about, ground loot or whatever, right? I think it's always streamers, like, I don't know why. Well, people treat us as like different being people. Like, we're all just players like you guys. So it's like, you think that our opinion is that different than yours? And it's, if we have an opinion, a lot of times, a lot of other people are feeling that way as well. You're like, and I would say that streamers oftentimes are more amplifiers of opinions rather than somebody who drives change, right? We amplify opinions that are shared by a majority of the community rather than somebody who is driving the change itself. Because, I mean, at least I can say for myself, a lot of times when I talk about things, it's because I'm listening to chat every day and listening to you guys talk. And I get convinced one way or another a lot of times because chat feels a certain way or another. And then I share those opinions because I'm like, yeah, I think this is a widely spread, agreed upon opinion. And you think that if a streamer were to go out and say a super unpopular opinion or something that GG doesn't want to do, you think people would like a ton of people would rally behind them and support them? If somebody like FUBGun was saying something completely dumb, like nerf all loot down to the ground, you think people would rally behind them and GG would make that change? No, I think it's usually the people, these streamers, these people have an opinion. it's if it gets implemented and these changes do get implemented, it's usually because there's a large amount of people that also agree with them, and the developer sees that there is a large amount of people that agree with them, and that's why they make the change, rather than the streamer themselves has an opinion that is so completely stupid, and the developers just mindlessly following what they're saying.
Well said.
Yeah.
Agreed.
One quick thing I'll add as well, I guess another facet of this, I guess, is probably, I'm guessing here, is trade implications. I'd imagine would be probably another driver of some of these comments, like impacts of
For sure.
cost of items and things like that. And my only answer to that would be, well, SSF exists. If this is something that impacts you so heavily, just go play SSF. You don't have to deal with anything to do with trade.
Perfect cherry on top to that conversation.
Mm.
Perfect. Yeah, so that's hot takes, guys. Don't know if this will be here every week. I don't want to force it. I want to actually have good discussions around hot takes. But if you ever have a hot take or you have an opinion you think goes against the grain, please let us know in the comments down below. I mean, based off how active and how many walls of checks I've been seeing in Twitch chat, it's at least driving some engagement. Let us know what you think about any of these comments as well. All right, let's move on to the Misos viewer comments of the week. Is that one better?
Oh, shit. Am I going to have to sing one of these segments? Rabbit's been going and Cal, Miso, like, shit. Do we have to prepare a little jingle here as well?
Maybe that's going to be the new requirement for guests.
But I thought we were already read comments. I thought we already had a comment.
No, those were the. Those
this is a
hot
different
takes.
segment.
Those
That
are
was
the
hot
hot
take
take comments.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
These are comments that are actually reasonable.
Yeah, these are just the my comment section is just comments from the past week's podcast. First comment I want to read out is from Milo De Bruin 4821. Says that I don't think I've heard Rabbit or Cal so passionate about PoE2 in ages as when talking about THC. Yeah, I mean, you guys
That's
are.
true.
It seems like you guys are really, really enjoying it, which is absolutely amazing, and hopefully that inspires more people to play in THC. Danny,
Such a phenomenal community. Such a phenomenal community. Can't stress that enough.
absolutely. Danny H1364 says the Quinn slander. Legit, I think Quinn is probably one of the better PoE players. HCSSF is no joke, especially with non-meta builds. Making that work isn't easy. Yeah,
When I said that Quinn comment, I was being genuine. Like I wasn't trying to shit talk him. Rabbit's the one that flung the shit at him. I thought
what?
that
No.
Yeah, you're the one that was Quinn doesn't play
no.
builds that are ZDPS because he does it because he sucks or something. I forget what you said. You was you, wasn't me.
No, I said you're making it sound like he has a choice.
Oh yeah,
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm the
was
one with 2 million channel points in his channel. I'm obviously a big fan. Okay. Well,
Damn, look at that.
Quinn's a smart bloke. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, 100%.
He knows what he's doing.
I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not kidding. I do think he's one of the. He's just like just from a streamer standpoint, he's probably one of the just best streamers on the platform. You're always gonna be entertained. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's part of it. The whole thing of everyone shitting on him in terms of like
He knows
God
exactly
Gamer or
what
whatever.
he's doing.
It's all part of the shtick. So
What? Streamers have a shtick? That's crazy. Not every streamer is exactly who they are in person and in camera. That's
Crazy,
insane.
right?
That's insane.
people are gonna notice at ExileCon. But I'm gonna be like, go away from me, peasant.
I'm still on the fence as to whether I'm going to go, actually, on that topic.
You're going. No, change. We're going to decide that now. You're going and you're going to hang out with
Go
us.
twist my arm. I do
Done
have a
and
ticket.
done.
I do have a ticket. I think I was talking to you, Cal, about this. I do have a ticket. So the option is
definitely
there.
We will be hanging out all weekend if you show up, my man.
Oh, 100%. If I was going to go, it would probably be to catch up with people and hang out with the community more so than the convention itself.
Oh, for sure. Unless there's like a back room where I can play the new patch. I don't like the convention. Doesn't matter to me. I'm there to hang out with people. You know, I'm there to meet people. Any more comments, Miso?
Yeah, last one. Mateus Bosak 7448. Just imagine that
Bosak.
Miso.
What a name!
Bosak. Bosak. Bosak.
Okay.
I think me and Rabbit heard something else there.
It says, just imagine that Miso grows such a mustache. Let's vote. Yeah, that's never
You
gonna
should
happen.
try.
No, it's terrible.
We need Miso
Once
to
again,
try.
Once
It would look
again, he's
terrible.
acting like he has a choice.
It would be terrible. You guys wouldn't want
Rip.
it. You guys
Rip.
wouldn't want it. It would look terrible. Yeah, those are the
I think
comments.
you'd look great. Hell yeah. Well, yeah, we appreciate you guys. We're going to try and incorporate the community more into this show. We're going to experiment with the format, do different segments. If hot takes doesn't work out, we'll segue it out. But we want to incorporate you guys as a THE league. The big thing for me was absolutely part of the community aspect of it. Just anytime someone dies, seeing all the 07s, everyone rallying together to get them back on in their next character and stuff. Community is such a big part of even a single player game like this, and we want to expend that to you guys as viewers because, yeah, you guys make doing the podcast every week so much fun. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Mr. FunkehChicken. It has been an absolute blast.
Thank you for having me. It's been surreal being on this side of the fence. So, yeah, always normally lurking in the chat. So, thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate you staying up super late for us. Where can the people follow you? You just started streaming recently, right?
I don't want to self-promote myself, to be honest. I would just
promote yourself, fool. What?
No.
That's what this is for.
I will shout you guys out, support these guys.
Oh my
These guys, you guys are the ones growing the community and foster, I think, a lot of the positivity around PoE2. And I don't think it's any coincidence why you guys were so quickly invited to Exile Con. You guys, Blaze, there's a whole bunch of people I can list. Like the whole streaming journey, as an example for myself, has been just such a surreal experience. Just, I think on the second or third day, I'm already getting raid. Everseen raids me. All of a sudden on the second day, I've got 60, 70 viewers. Rabbit raids me to 300. All of you guys, Miso, I think, has raided me once or twice. Cows, everyone. It's just ridiculous. Show these guys support because you guys are the ones growing the community. The only other shout out I'd probably do is just to all content creators. Something that was really eye-opening to me when I first started on YouTube, and it's something that I never used to do, is like the whole like and subscribe. It literally costs nothing. If you genuinely like someone's content, you come across a video, hit those buttons. It takes you 2 seconds, doesn't cost you anything. You'd be surprised what difference it makes, especially to smaller creators getting those videos out there. So I'll just do a general shout out to everyone who does content and you guys who consume this. And if you do look at guides, just, share the love.
Not everyone, not to the Kide Games of the worlds, but most of y'all. Most of y'all. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Chicken. Dead Rabbit, take it away, brother.
Yes, I second the motion that was just ordered. Yes, I also like this. I'm not going to be streaming for the next. I'm not going to be streaming for the next week, so there's nothing to plug here. You can come back when 0.55 is around the corner. Then I'll be back. Yes, I mean,
Mr. Miso.
I will be at Gamescom. Yeah, I will be at Gamescom.
Yeah,
I will be doing. I will become an obnoxious fucking IRL streamer there. I'll just walk around with my phone and be like, "Oh, guys, oh, streamer guy." It's gonna be amazing.
I imagine you're going to be super comfortable doing that, Rabbit. I'll put a wager on that you'll last a day and you're going to ditch it.
Dude, I don't feel like my whole base setting is being uncomfortable. That's gonna just
Yeah, I'm getting cold sweats thinking about doing it, and I'm not even doing it.
Are you guys going to have a booth or something during ExileCon? Like, what are your commitments?
Yeah, we're getting a booth. We've got like 3 hours on the main stage. They're putting a parade for us as well. No, they're not giving it. They're shit. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. It'd be cool if I asked them in our email if I could do a dev interview if we could do a dev interview at ExileCon, but
I printed 4,000 fan cards to sign. What do you mean?
Yeah, the parade.
Are you telling me those are not going to be used?
Yeah.
No, you have the big mugshot face photos, which you're going to sign.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anything like that's happening. I hope not. I thought that'd be weird.
We're gonna do a
Mr.
podcast
Miso,
from New Zealand.
yeah,
The
That'd be
first
sweet.
we'll definitely do
in-person
probably multiple
in-person
podcasts. Honestly, we'll probably do
We'll
multiple
see.
podcasts.
We'll see if we have time. We'll see how much time we
in a
have.
jacuzzi.
Yeah, it depends.
I mean,
Mr.
we
Miso?
talked about
Yeah.
the hot tub. We've talked about the hot tub podcast. It is possible.
Yeah.
With enough
Everyone
money
wants to see
donations
that.
from the viewers,
If we can find enough, I'm only going to do it if we can find an area that's not like. I don't want to be recording around other people because I don't want them feeling uncomfortable with.
Now we're doing
Yeah, I
it
feel like
in the
that's the
main
general-
hall. In the Exile Con main hall. We're gonna be in a hot tub doing the podcast.
Oh yeah, that's the booth. That's the booth we're getting. Is just a hot tub in the middle of ExileCon. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Miso.
I mean, if FunkehChicken is gonna shout himself out, I'm gonna shout him out. Go follow him, give him a sub. He's a great content creator, great build maker. Twitch.tv FunkehChicken, YouTube FunkehChicken. I think those are the two he's on, at least for now. And yeah, go follow him. He's a good dude. For me, Miso X Shiru on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Everywhere there's, you want to find. I'm even on Kick technically. I'm technically a partner on Kick, so I don't stream there, but hey, I do have an account there. But yes, all over the place. Come hang out.
Oh yeah. And I have actually, this is the longest streak of streaming I've ever had. Usually I get burnt out streaming 1 to 2 days in a row. I have streamed every single day of the Timmy League, 13 days in a row. I'm probably going to keep streaming. I'm having a blast playing this character until I get burnt out. So come hang out while I stream. The week of Gamescom, we do not know the scheduling of the podcast yet. We still have to figure out if we can do an episode with Rabbit at all. Do we need to do it earlier in the week, or do we just need to do an episode without him? We still got to figure out the Gamescom week episode. So we'll be TBD on that. But thanks for watching, everybody.
Most likely,
go ahead.
Sorry, most likely it's gonna be at the same time as always. Thursday, Thursday evening. I will.
Cool.
99% of the time I will be just back after that, and then we can talk about what I've seen.
Cool. Oh, that'll be fun then. Hell yeah. Well, 07 to all those that have died in the Timmy League. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
Peace.